afternoon. Well, in my last video, I showed my new saw and some of the things that I was working on to some of my accessories I worked on. My rider, fence, zero clearance inserts, things of that nature, and everything else. In a previous video earlier last year, I made my miter sled for segments. So you know, when I'm doing a segmented bowl, I can do repeatable cuts without a whole lot of headache of, you know, measuring and angles and all this mess. So what I did was I decided to make one sled that's adjustable and makes repeatable cuts time after time, and this is what I came up with. I did a lot of research and stuff like that, looking at different sleds and all, and basically Brian Higgins, the segmenter, is his channel on YouTube, the segmenter. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you can see his sled. But that was the inspiration for this one. There's a few little differences, but pretty much this is about the same sled that he has. But I just want to talk about it right now, and we'll set up for to cut rings, and I'll show you how I make this thing repeatable. So, but anyway, we'll start out by looking at it. I wanted to hit both miter slots. Okay, I wanted to hit both of the saw's miter slots with my runners. Okay, these are oak runners, and they fit very nice in there. It's almost a tight fit, but not quite. Okay, and for all of these, the clamps and things like that, I have T-nuts under the bottom. Actually, I've got one T-nut. The rest of them are nuts that I had to glue in because I had no. I ran out of T-nuts. I thought I had a bag of them, but I only had one. So instead of going 15 miles to the Home Depot, I used 1/4-20 nuts, countersunk in, and I just used that as a T-nut. Works just as well. But anyway, once I got the runners on, I got my sides put on. These are rabbited. I'll show you that. This just supports the edges. You can see there's a rabbit here. That just kind of gives you more glue surface for you know, to hold that everything together nice and flat. Okay, just an overview. This is your angle arm here. Okay, this is my locking block where I can lock in a certain angle. I bring the angle down, I get it the way I want it, and I can lock that down, and it won't allow that to move. That's just, you know, if I'm wanting to make an odd angle cut or something like that, once I get it right, I can just lock that down. I don't have to, I'm not going to be repeating it too much. This one is your stop block for your segments. So if I'm cutting a segment and I bring it across here just like this, well, segment will go this way. That will stop it, so I make the correct cut every time, and it's adjustable. I mean, you can bring it back, you know, and make your segments longer or whatever until you get it the way you want it. Then you lock it down with this one. Okay, and that holds your segment. You have to hold this little piece of wood, or it's going to get caught between the blade. As you come through, it's going to get caught between the blade, and you don't know where it's going. Probably in your eye if you're not wearing your safety glasses. So anyway, but all of these are fully adjustable. I can make, you know, big segments, you know, really wide if I want to. and pretty long also. And if anything else, I can always put another bolt back here somewhere and make the segments even longer, and the same up here also. If that's not wide enough for some reason, then I can put another bolt back here if I need to. Alright, the key to this whole thing is this brass pin right here. Okay, and you can see this was the 12 segmented rings that I was getting set up for, and I would get everything correct with my lock block here, and then I would go to drill my hole and it would pull it out just a little bit. I don't understand how it would do it, but the segments wouldn't end up a perfect angle like they would with a locking block. But anyway, I kept messing around and I finally got it. This blue one right here makes perfect 15-degree cuts. So when I glue them all together, I end up with a perfect segmented ring without having to sand any of the edges or anything like that. All of them ends up perfect. Lots and lots and lots of practice cuts. Okay, but I know that now when I bring it down here and I lock this pin, when I lock that pin in that hole, I am good to go. Okay, and all that is, it's just a brass pin. It's a 3/16 pin, and I drilled it with a 3/16 drill bit, so there's no slop. Now also, once I got that done, I went ahead and I marked this. Okay, and I wrote 12 piece, 15 degrees. So if anything else, if something ever happens, I can bring this around to there, line that up, and I can lock my locking block in place, and that makes that repeatable. Alright, well, I'm going to get into what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this up for an 8-piece segmented ring, and once I get close, because what I did was I used my Swanson speed square to get basic angles marked here, as I would come up with this and I would measure it against my saw kerf and just kind of guesstimate as near as I could and made marks on each one. I then transferred those out to here, and that gives me my ballpark to get started. You can see my 12 was here, but it actually ended up being here. So, you know, there's half-inch difference there. But it did get me close, so I know where I'm starting. Okay, I'm going to get this thing set up, and we're going to start trying to make an 8-piece segmented ring off of this sled, and see if we can't get a repeatable 8-piece segment out of it. So let me get set up here, and I will be right back. Okay, for starters, I've got my scrap pieces here, which it was just a 2x4 I took out to the joint in the planer. Got it flat and jointed 90 degrees and all that good stuff. So it's a good board, and I brought it in here and just soldered into about 1/2-inch pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use it to help me get set up. First of all, I'm going to start out here with my 8-piece segment, which is 22.5 degrees. And the way I get this is, you take 360 degrees divided by 8 pieces. That gives you 45. Then you have to make 2 cuts, so you take that 45, divide it by 2, and that gives you 22.5. So I set my block up with a 22.5 degree angle, and this is my ballpark here, and I'll make a little test cut here, or I'll go ahead and cut the end. There's my blade. I want it barely protruding. Okay? And I'm just going to cut that end off. Okay? Now, I'm going to set this up here and go ahead and move in my stop block and lock it down. Lock down my stop block there. And this, okay, that should be good. So I'll lock it down. Make sure it'll grip. You want that to hold nice and secure, okay? But not to the point where when you lock it, it actually pulls it away. You have to be very careful there, alright? So now I'll make my first test cut. Make sure you don't cut that bolt. Okay. And I'll take this off, get my protractor, and make sure that... Okay, sorry, had a little technical difficulty there. I ran out of batteries in my camera. But this is a piece I just cut, and I've got my little protractor here. And all I'm going to do is just check this angle until it matches up with this. And I'll read it right here, which I don't know if you can actually see it, but it's about 40, let me see, kind of hard to see. It's about 43, it's 43 degrees. Okay, so I know that I've got to bring my arm on up a little bit more. Not much. I'm moving it about a 1/16 of an inch out here. Lock it back down, and then I'll make another test cut. Okay, that piece is no good. Throw it in the trash. Don't have any of those pieces hanging around. So now I'll make a test cut and see how this one works. Take this piece. Get your angle back right on this one. Throw it over. Make the next test cut. Now, let's see where this one's at. Move this back and I'll do it here. It's actually easier if you lay that on the table, but make sure as you do this that you don't push your protractor too far. Okay, now I moved it about a 1/16 of an inch, and it changed the angle about a 1/2 degree. So I'm going to go just like this, and it's just a trial and error until I'm going to move it a little bit further this time. That should get me pretty close to 45. That should get me almost dead on 45. And I'll do it again. And I'll just keep doing this until I get it correct. Barely trim that off, come back, lock that down. Right. Okay, well, this last piece I cut, the protractor says is 45 degrees, dead on. Okay, so we move into the second part, which means I'm going to cut another segment and see if those two segments together equal 90 degrees. because you can't just go by the 45 yet. I'll cut another segment. Now, if I put these two together, just like this, and put it on my protractor, it should show 90 degrees here. Now let me loosen that thing up a little bit. Alright, they're together, they're tight. Lock it down, see where it... Okay, it's about a half a degree out, just before 90. So I actually need to move this just a hair forward, and I'm not going much. I just moved this stick about a 32nd of an inch. Alright, so these two are no good, and I'll just keep on until I can get two pieces that are 90 degrees, that equal 90 degrees. It is very tedious and worrisome, but if you do this right with your test pieces, then you can lock this thing down and put your pin in, and we'll be good to go. Alright, I'll be back in just a minute once I get this dialed in perfect. Okay, alright, I finally got it. I've cut up almost that whole piece of wood, but now when I bring these up and they're good and tight, I don't know if you can see that or not, but reading at the top up there, that's 90 degrees. So theoretically this thing is set up just about as close to perfect as you can get it. Now that's with the lock block, but what I've done here also is my little pin. I beveled the top to make a point, and I just put it in the drill, went over to the grinder and ground me down a little point right here. Maybe this will help me solve my problem there. And I will put it in the hole and tap it. Maybe that'll give me a divot that I can get started with. And it did. So maybe when I drill my hole, it'll go straight in there. So that when I put my pin in there, it doesn't move. Okay, so now we go back to our test cuts just to see. And I'll take off this little edge again. Knock that off just to make sure. Let's see if this ends up, if it's still true with the pin in. Let's loosen up the protractor. Alright, everything's good and tight, lock it down. 90 degrees. 90 degrees. Okay, so I know this thing is cutting as close as humanly possible to 22.5 degrees. That's exactly what it's doing. Get out of here. Sound like a, I don't know what it is, little news beat or something. This is cutting 22.5 degrees, period. Okay, there's no doubt in my mind anymore about the accuracy of that pin. By putting that point on it and making a divot before I drilled my hole, that really made everything more accurate. So now, okay, now that we're set up, I'm gonna cut 8 pieces and see what kind of circle that ends up making, just to make sure. All right, so here we go. Find me a rubber band here, and we'll see how these work out. We'll come over here to the workbench. We'll just check this and see how we're doing. Grab me a rubber band. Alright, of course you want to knock the fuzzies off the best you can. All I'm really trying to do is just see how accurate this thing's gonna be with a full circle. Not really looking for neatness, but I just want them, I'm looking for tightness on this. Well, get in there, back up. Oh yeah, this is going to be nice and tight, I think, anyway. Well, need my segments. Oh, look at here. Now there are some fuzzies on there, but those miters are straight, and that is a very good miter joint, every one of them, and except for the very tips right there where I have some tear out, which that would probably come out with when I sand it, you could just about make a medallion out of that right there. Okay, well, now I know that if I cut an 8 or a 12-sided segmented bowl, that I can come back here and I can drive my pin in and not have to really worry about this. Of course, I'll make a couple of test cuts just to be absolutely sure, you know, before I try to do something. But I can do with confidence that this is a repeatable. So now, if I want to do a 12-piece segmented ring, I don't even need my locking block anymore. I just pull my pin up, come around here to 12, lock her down, and now I'm set up to do 12 piece segmented rings. The same thing with the 8. If I get to where, well, push it in there too far. Anyway, I don't have my pliers close by. But if I want to do an 8, I just pull the pin up, set that to the 8 stop, and let her eat. I've had a lot of questions, since I posted my video on this thing, and there they are. Let me let that blade down. That's how I built it. You can build one for yourself. It's not that complicated. It's just a lot of test cuts. Just get that perfect before you put that pin in. And once you put the pin in, make sure you make more test cuts to make sure that your drill bit, when it started into your MDF, that it didn't draw it out just a little bit. If it draws it out a 32nd of an inch, that's too far. Your segments won't end up right at the end. But anyway, there it is. There's my segment miter sled, and how I did it, and how it's adjustable and repeatable. And I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks or so, hopefully, once I can get back out in the shop. And I hope you all have a good day.